In a land filled with carved idols, towering temples, and the noise of merchants and trade, a man stood quietly among the crowds of Ur of the Chaldeans. His name was Abram. The city was prosperous, cultured, and secure, but it was a place devoted to many gods. And in the middle of that environment, the voice of the one true God spoke to him. "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household. Go to the land I will show you." There was no map, no directions, no explanation of the destination, just a command and a promise. In that moment, Abram faced the first great test of obedience: stay where life was predictable and comfortable, or step into uncertainty with nothing but God's word. Abram chose to obey. He gathered his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all that they owned, and he walked away from everything familiar. Obedience moved his feet before it answered his questions. As the caravan pushed into the open desert, winds sweeping across endless sand, Sarai must have wondered where this road would lead. Abram had no details to give her. "God will show us," he would say. And so they journeyed, one step at a time, following a promise they could not yet see. This was obedience in motion, faith that acts before it understands. When they reached the land of Canaan, God spoke again. One night, beneath a vast sky blazing with stars, Abram stood outside his tent. The desert air was cool, the silence deep. Then God said, "Look toward heaven and count the stars, if you are able to number them. So shall your descendants be." It was a staggering promise to a man with no child. Abram was already advanced in age, and Sarai was barren. Everything about their situation contradicted the promise. Yet Abram believed God. He did not laugh, he did not argue, and that faith was counted to him as righteousness. Obedience, in that moment, was trust. Time passed, wealth increased, flocks multiplied, but tension rose between Abram's herdsmen and those of Lot. The land could not support them together. Abram had every right, as elder and leader, to claim the best portion of land. Instead, he chose peace over privilege. "Let there be no strife between us," he said. "Choose first." Lot lifted his eyes and chose the well-watered plains near Sodom, leaving Abram the less desirable region. Abram did not fight for advantage. He trusted that the blessing of God was not tied to geography. Obedience here looked like humility. Years went by. Tents aged. Hair turned gray. The promise of a son remained unfulfilled. Waiting can be harder than moving, and silence can test faith more than storms. Sarai felt the ache of barrenness deeply. The temptation to solve the problem by human effort led to the birth of Ishmael through Hagar. It was a painful detour, one that brought tension into the household. Yet even in imperfection, Abram continued to listen when God spoke. His obedience matured through correction. He learned that divine promises are fulfilled by divine timing. Then God appeared again and changed everything. "No longer shall your name be Abram," God declared. "You shall be called Abraham, for you will be the father of many nations." Sarai became Sarah. God established a covenant, marking Abraham and his household with a sign of belonging. It was personal. It was costly. And Abraham obeyed immediately. Submission marked this stage of his journey. He did not partially obey. He aligned himself fully with God's covenant. And then, when hope seemed almost too late, the impossible happened. Sarah conceived. In her old age she bore a son. Laughter filled the tent where tears had once fallen. They named him Isaac. He laughs. The promise that once seemed distant now cried in Abraham's arms. God had proven faithful. Decades of obedience had led to fulfillment. But the greatest test was yet to come. One day God called Abraham again. "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and offer him as a sacrifice." The command was shocking. Isaac was not only his beloved son, he was the child of promise. Through him nations were supposed to come. Yet early the next morning, Abraham rose without recorded protest. He prepared the wood, he saddled the donkey. He began the journey to the mountain God would show him. This was obedience stripped of understanding. As father and son climbed the mountain together, Isaac carried the wood on his back. "Father," Isaac asked gently, "where is the lamb for the offering?" Abraham's answer revealed the depth of his faith. God will provide. He believed that somehow, even if it required resurrection, God would remain faithful to his word. At the top of the mountain, Abraham built the altar. He lifted the knife. And in the most intense moment of surrender, heaven intervened. "Abraham, Abraham," the angel called. "Do not lay a hand on the boy." A ram was caught in a thicket nearby. God had provided a substitute. Abraham's obedience had reached its highest expression, not merely leaving land, not merely waiting for promises, but surrendering what he loved most. Because he obeyed, God reaffirmed the covenant. His descendants would be as numerous as the stars. Through his offspring, all nations of the earth would be blessed. Abraham's life became a testimony that obedience is not a single heroic act, but a lifelong journey, leaving when called, believing when doubtful, yielding when challenged, waiting when delayed, submitting when commanded, and surrendering when tested. Abraham did not always understand. He was not flawless, but he consistently chose to trust the voice of God over the comfort of certainty. His story echoes across generations as a reminder that obedience is not about having a map. It is about trusting the one who leads.